Boom! We're in the room. Well, good evening, everybody. Coming live to you from the Heale Manor, and this evening I thought I'd have a change of scenery. I'd sit in the old drawing room. So this evening we've got a cracking evening coming up for you. Now we've got some special guests coming on the show. Let me take the noise off for the background. Have you asked yourself this question? Do you know the signs and symptoms of prostate cancer? If the answer is yes, well, you might as well switch off now because you might not learn everything. But there's always something. Every day's a school day, so you might learn something on this one. What do you know about testicular cancer? Not many people know about it. Tonight, you're going to find out. And then a little bit later, we're going to be tackling a real big issue that's not talked about. We're going to have a chat about the female menopause and the effects that it has on men. We've got some ladies in this evening, and they're going to let us know from their perspective what they go through. And then we're going to discuss it and look at the effects that it has on men. Because, believe it or not, men can go through it just as bad. I mean, they don't suffer the signs or the symptoms. However, they do go through the mill sometimes with it. And I can testify to that. Anyway, let's just have a quick call to, let's see what's going on. Evening, James. Where are we going? Right, just going to pull up a couple of bits and pieces. Next week, we've got the old rugby special. We're going to put a slight twist on it because yes, we are going to talk about the rugby. We're going to talk about the Premiership rugby, and we're also going to talk about the regimental rugby. But we're also going to look at the effects of well-being on rugby players, because rugby players are. The Premiership particularly have put a stop on players, particularly the internationals, playing for a while. They've got to have a break, and we'll go through that next week. And I've got a special guest on who's going to tell us all about that. The following week, I can't wait for this one. The archaeological special. I've had it confirmed. We've got the archaeologist coming on, and that's going to come out. That's going to be a great evening. So even if you're not interested in archaeology, and you should be because it affects us all, and you'll find out how it affects us all when you come on the show, when you watch the show on the 8th. And then the following 2 weeks, I've got a couple of specials coming up that I need to pre-record because, yeah, once they come out, you'll see why I needed to pre-record them. But they will be interesting. And then at the end of September, we've got the big one. We're gonna have a whole evening dedicated to talking about veterans' mental health and the suicide and all the stuff that the veterans are going through at the moment. So we're going to have an evening of veteran specials. So what I'd like to do is ask if you could do us a favour. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, to just click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost a penny. Really doesn't cost anything. The algorithms and all that don't send you anything. It just helps the channel grow so more people can see this content. More people can join in. So that's one of the key things I'd ask you to do this evening. I'd also ask you to click the old the like button, because that also helps. The more likes we get, that helps us grow. That helps you as well, because more people see it. You can have that conversation, because you know on a Thursday there's nothing on the telly. So what we're going to do, right? We've got people watching. So I'm just going to put a quick shout out. So there's James, there's Chris, How you doing, Chris? I haven't seen you for a while. Nick, good catch up last week. Thanks for the coffee. Right, here we go. Without too much further ado, I'm going to bring in my first guest. So, without too much of ado, here we've got young Richard. Good evening, Richard. How you doing?
Good. Yep. Yep.
You had a good day. I mean, we had the funerals yesterday, and we had a good chat and catch up.
Yeah, been busy today on sorting out a few regimental issues, but yeah, not bad.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, should we get into our first subject? Boom. This is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at prostate cancer. And there's a website out there all dedicated to it, for particularly for the UK. I know we've got some international guests on tonight, but this is what the UK do. And there's a website dedicated to men's prostate. And what I do personally is urge anybody that's experienced something different in their waterworks. If they get up more often during the night, then what I would suggest is that you book an appointment to go and see the old doc. Doesn't hurt. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but actually it's the blood test that hurts. Sticking a needle in the arm and siphoning off some blood. That's the thing that hurts. The old digit doesn't. It's just mildly uncomfortable. So, but if you don't, the sooner you get it checked out, the better off you'll be. If there is something wrong, catch it early. It ain't a problem. Blokes live with it for years and years and years and years. My late father-in-law, he died at 90, I think it was 96, and he had it for years. So, Richard, what can you throw into the mix on this one?
Depending on how much time you're going to give me, if I can, as you know, I can tell you quite openly my knowledge and experiences as far as cancer is concerned. So if I'm going on too much, just tell me.
No.
It started about 4 years ago. I actually went on a regimental battlefield tour for 2 weeks in Italy, and we were going to go straight after that to be with the regiment in Cyprus for 10 days. Whilst we were at Monte Cassino, I felt uncomfortable and I was getting very tired very quickly. From Monte Cassino, we went to Rome for a week, and it just increased. And then I noticed there was a small amount of urine in my pee. Blood in my pee, which was quite a concern. We then went to Cyprus almost immediately, and it just got worse. It got more painful and it got worse. So, having discussed it with the wife, she said, we'll get you in to see the doctor as soon as you get home, which we did. I went to see the local practitioner, and she asked me to take a urine sample, which I did. She said, can you show me your urine sample? So I showed it, and it was just blood. Believe me, it was just blood. So she said, I don't have to tell you, you've got a serious problem. And
using hindsight, was she?
Well, yeah. Well, you could physically, you see I've got a serious problem. And she booked me an urgent appointment to see a consultant from Kettering General. So I saw the consultant. He did a series of tests, some blood tests, and said, Mr. York, you've got a serious problem and we're not going to hang around, we're going to have to get you in. So within a matter of a week, I went into Kettering General for an endoscopy. And once they commenced that, he realised that actually he was wasting his time and my time, because when they looked in my bladder, they couldn't see anything at all, just blood. So that progressing got delayed at the initial stage. I then was summoned and went into Kettering General for my first operation, where they found that I'd got a large tumour in my bladder, and also at the same time they did a scan of my prostate and found out I'd got prostate cancer as well. So within a space of about 4 to 6 weeks, I went from being normal to being told that I'd got both bladder cancer and prostate cancer.
That's very greedy.
Well, yeah, I was.
Most people just have the one.
Yeah. I then had my first lot of surgery at Kettering, where they removed what they could under one session of the tumour in my bladder. I then went back within a month for a second operation. When that finished, they said that actually the cancer I got was an aggressive one, and it had spread into my prostate, the wall of my bladder. I then had about 6 weeks gap, and I had further surgery. And post that, they said that actually that type of surgery, because the cancer was so aggressive, they wouldn't be able to keep pace with it. So they then recommended that I had a 6 weeks course of treatment, which was BCG treatment, which they put straight into your bladder. You leave it in your bladder for a limited amount of time. And I had that over 6 weeks, every Wednesday for 6 weeks. I then had a 6 weeks break. I then went in for surgery again. So this was the third lot of surgery I was having. To be told that the BCG hadn't worked. There was not a lot they could do for me without major surgery. I was quite lucky that the hospitals share specific cases amongst, for instance, in our region, it's Leicester General, Kettering General, and Northampton General. So they have a thing called a cancer forum, where difficult and specific cases are discussed. I was quite lucky that the professor, senior cancer surgeon at Leicester General, was interested in my case because of the type of cancer I had. And he was especially concerned that as I'd been a non-smoker all of my life, how aggressive the cancer I had. So he invited me, or basically told me, to get my ass up to Leicester to go and see him. So me and the wife went up to Leicester. He did a load of tests and confirmed really my worst fears, that it was an advanced stage. It was aggressive cancer I'd got, and we've got to do something a bit seriously. And basically, he put me at the very top of his urgent surgery list. So about less than a month later, we were summoned to get up to Leicester for this surgery, and I was booked in. Basically, what they told me they were initially going to do was remove my bladder completely, remove my prostate completely, remove my urethra, and they were going to check my lymph nodes and probably remove some of them. In fact, during the surgery, they removed 17 of my lymph nodes as well. I ended up having what they call a urinary diversion, where they take a part of your small intestine, reshape it and realign it. So I've now got a stomach with a stoma on it that protrudes, which is where I pee through. I permanently have a bag, a urostomy bag. And like I say, they removed 17 lymph nodes as well. I've been now post-surgery. I had my surgery 2 years ago. I had my annual review only last month with a CT scan and blood tests. My PSA level, while you're talking about prostate cancer, that blood test that you mentioned, Tim, that gives you a PSA level. And one on my last test was 0.03, which is the lowest reading you can have. They don't go any lower, that's good news.
Yeah, I wish mine was that low.
And my CT scan showed no change within the last 12 months. My advice to anybody who's listening is don't hang around. If you've got a problem, or you even think you've got a problem, go and get it checked out. Believe me, there is nothing embarrassing about it. And it's better to be safe than sorry. And I think the critical factor, certainly for me, was time. Because when I found out, and the doctors found out, it was in quite an advanced stage, and it was quite aggressive. But we say a lot of bad things about the National Health Service, but for me, having my first consultation when I knew I'd got a problem, to having my fourth lot of surgery was 12 months. And that includes 12 weeks of treatment, 6 of treatment and 6 where I couldn't do anything. So what I would say is that don't be shy at all. Get in there, get at the front of the queue with your hand up and saying, I need sorting out. So that's my story. I just consider myself, one, being very lucky with the medical teams that looked after me and sorted me out, and a very reduced time frame that I went, because I do know a lot of people have to wait a long time.
Absolutely.
I remember meeting the surgeon about a week after my surgery, and my question to him was, Mr. English, will I have to have radiotherapy or chemotherapy? He said, I doubt it, Mr. York, because we've took everything away. There's not a lot left for us to zap. So that's my story.
Wow. Right, I'm just going to bring a couple of other people in and we can have a chat about it. So, first up, I'll bring young Stuart in. So, Stuart, you're in the room.
Good evening.
So, Stuart,
good evening, Richard.
Good evening.
Did you hear all of that?
I did hear all that, yeah. I was a few minutes late getting on tonight, Tim, so I missed the introduction. But it looks like you've decorated your living room again.
Well, I thought I'd change from the library and just come into the drawing room tonight. It's just a bit more comfortable. and
Yeah.
there's a bit more airflow around here. I've got a
Yeah.
fan on tonight.
The Heale Manor.
The Heale Manor, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was
So,
listening to Richard's story, and you've certainly been through the wars, haven't you, Richard, with your bladder problem? That sounds
Yeah,
horrendous.
yeah. Well, it was when, you know, the impact of initially being told. Once you get over that, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
you just got to get on with it. And
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, my advice to anybody is don't waste your time and don't waste the doctor's time. Don't miss an appointment. Don't miss a phone call, and certainly don't miss, you know, a blood test.
yeah,
All it takes is a blood test. Certainly, as far as prostate cancer is concerned,
yeah,
you know, a blood test and the results can tell them
yeah.
straight away.
yeah,
It's encouraging to hear your journey, and then to see you sat there looking, you know, you don't look in bad health, Richard. You look very healthy. In fact, you've got
No,
a good sort of complexion and glow. So
yeah, yeah,
it's encouraging to know what they can do, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I said to my family, we used to travel abroad a lot, as Tim knows. And post surgery, I said, that's it, no more long haul flights, no, you know, holiday in, you know, South America for 6 weeks. We're not doing that anymore. Not, you know, this. So we bought a static caravan at Skegness.
Yeah,
So we could spend time with the grandchildren.
yeah,
And then about 3 months ago, a friend of mine who's Sri Lankan, lives in Sri Lanka, invited us out there for 3 weeks to go to his daughter's wedding. And we went, and that was the first time I'd flown or travelled abroad since I'd had the operation. And actually, it went, because I'd had 2 years of, you know, in that regime of taking care of yourself. Actually, it was to go over there on holiday. It didn't have any effect on me at all, really. So,
yeah, yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
So I was just going to make a couple of shout outs. See some more people have joined us. There's Catherine's here, and Corinne. I see Corinne's in. Keith, evening Keith. Evening Albie. Nick put in a comment earlier. Let's have a quick look. Nick's comment was getting an appointment to see a doctor is not that easy.
well,
Got a point.
my answer to that, Tim, would be if you know, and you do know that something's wrong, because that's why you want to see a doctor in the first place. If you get the opportunity to tell somebody at your local practice what the problems are, and once you start saying and mentioning I'm passing blood, which is one of the first symptoms for prostate cancer and bladder cancer, people listen, believe me. They know, because if they don't listen, they're going to be in serious trouble.
Absolutely.
So getting an appointment, I know it's difficult, because I sometimes have difficulty. But once you mention that, people's ears prick up, and you do get to the front of the queue pretty quickly.
Our surgery's got quite a neat system now, and it must be countrywide. But I was trying to get an appointment just for a blood test this week, and if you get the NHS app, you can log into that, and you can find your surgery, and you can book an appointment at your surgery through the NHS app. I don't think a lot of people know that.
No.
And our particular surgery releases its appointments at 7 p.m. in the evening. So if you go on at 7 p.m., you've got a very good chance of being able to get an appointment within the next few days, just through using the app.
I mean, I have now my blood test appointments, I can tell you when they are and where they are for next year. And I can also tell you where and when my CT scan is booked for next year, and when I will next be seeing my consultant next year. So, you know, but I also know the other difficulties, because sometimes the receptionist put you through to a doctor you've never seen before. And the first thing, if it's a doctor whose name I don't recognise, I said, "Excuse me, sir, have you read my notes?" "No," is the answer. "Okay, well, read my notes and then you call me back." You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
that tends to work as well.
Yeah, James has made a good point here. Yeah, that stiff upper lip should not. I mean, it used to be the case years ago, but nowadays, because we're talking about it, because we're trying to normalise talking about all these used to be taboo subjects, we need to get it out there, because people need to know that if they suspect that there's anything wrong at all, the first thing they do is try and get an appointment and get it checked out. The sooner you get it checked out, the easier it is to treat. And Dave's just put in a comment as well. I mean, Dave's had the same problem. Look, the other week, and he was seen the next day. So you can get the appointments, but you have to get past the app first, or get on the app first, or get past the receptionist.
I think,
Nobody said it was going to be easy. However, it has to be done.
It's the initial fear, I think, is that people are thinking, well, I've got something wrong, but I don't want to know I've got something wrong. Therefore, I'm not going to tell anybody.
I think men, in particular, have always had that. You know, they'd sooner not think about it than get something done about it, and then it gets to the stage where it's too late, and it's manifested itself, and it's much more difficult to treat. So I'm just gonna put a shout out at the moment. I can see there's lots of people watching. Can you just click that bell icon? Not the bell icon. Just click the like button. If you like what we're talking about, click. There you go. There's one click. Who's the first up? Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. So Catherine's done it. It's easy. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost anything, and they don't track you down for it either. So, talking to Catherine, let's bring in Catherine, and the young ladies with her. So here you go, Catherine and the girls. You're in the room. Welcome.
There's three of them tonight.
Yeah. So, how are we all doing?
Yeah, okay, good.
What do you think to the conversation so far?
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, what Richard's been through, that, you know, I'm just glad that everything's okay now and they was able to do something. I had a friend that I used to clean for many years ago, and he'd been battling prostate cancer for many years, and he got quite bad at the end, and it was quite sad to see. But he was of a generation, like you say, where it's keeping that stiff upper lip and, you know, keeping stum about anything. So by the time it was picked up, it was, you know, there wasn't really a lot that they could do for him, unfortunately. But
see, I work with two guys, and one of them, who works closely with the other, had noticed the frequency in which he was using the toilet, and he actually said to him, "Are you having problems?" And then it all came out, and this was through lockdown. Anyway, he nagged him, and he made him go to the doctors. And actually, he did have prostate cancer, and he has now been treated and he has made a recovery. But he hadn't said anything to anybody. He was just dealing with the constant getting up in the night and backwards and forwards to the loo all day. And it turned out that he had been passing blood while he was peeing, but didn't say anything to anybody. But if it hadn't been for the other guy who'd already been through it, saying it, then it could all be a different story now. You guys are terrible. You know, us women, something wrong, we're at the doctors. We get everything. What is it with you men?
Yeah.
You don't do that about anything. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I suppose Richard hit the nail on the head, didn't he? You know, if you spot something, go now. Don't let anything stand in your way, not the receptionist, no obstacles. If you keep on and on, you will get an appointment. We have trouble here, but I actually have gone into work late, so I am at the doctor's for 8 o'clock and walk in and book an appointment for later that day. If it's important, you need to do it. Don't let anything stand in
Absolutely.
your way.
I think as well, Catherine, I was in a good bad situation because my wife had, was a former theatre sister, and she'd also been a practicing midwife. That's when I met her, and when she got an inkling that I wasn't 100%, it was like, do that and don't do it tomorrow, do it now.
Yeah.
You know, get on the phone, go and see. So I wasn't really given any chance or time to think about it. I was under pressure from the wife to do it there and then. You know, and she will not let me miss an appointment. She will not let me miss a consultation. You know, and if I'm not feeling well and she thinks, you know, I need to talk to a doctor about it, she's right behind me, pushing me up the stairs. You know, so I was quite lucky in that respect that, and she understood, you know, what I was going through, especially the time from start to finish for my 4 lots of surgery was during COVID. So I spent an awful lot of time in the hospital and I couldn't have any visitors. I didn't have any visitors, which, you know, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing at the time because I probably didn't want to talk to anybody anyway. But, you know, so I was quite lucky on the family side of life. Everything the doctor said to me during our consultations, Anne was there, she had a better understanding of it. You know, I'd get home and I said, so they're going to do this, that and the other. What does that mean? And she would talk to me in a language that I could, you know, non-medical language that I could understand. So, you know, in that respect, I was quite lucky.
Well, you saying about saying to the doctor, has he read your records? My mum used to keep a journal and it was thick, and the entire time she was having treatment, she would take it with her. She would say what hospital, what day and date she went, what doctor she saw, what they said to her, if they prescribed her anything, and whatever, because she was between hospitals, between Colchester and what was that one? St Bart's. So she would take
I've done exactly the same thing, and I've put them in chronological order from my first appointment to the results from the scans and tests I had last month. I've kept everything.
Yeah, that's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
Because your records don't necessarily follow you round.
No.
Yeah.
And the doctors haven't necessarily read it in advance of you going in either.
Yeah, and one of the other things I did at the advice of a stoma nurse is I actually joined the National Urostomy Association, who write to me 4 times a year. They send me a magazine 4 times a year, and they send you lists of contacts. all the organisations there to look after people's welfare, the contact emails, the contact telephone numbers are all listed in it. And since COVID, we've met twice. And the good thing is, it gives you an opportunity, it's certainly given me the opportunity to talk to people with the same condition who have been through it. For instance, I wanted advice about flying. And, you know, at one of the meetings, I said, anybody been on holiday abroad recently? Because when you go away, I've got to take home a bag of stuff to support my condition. You know, you go through customs, and you can I've even got a card now, but in multiple languages that I can show at customs, because I have to inject myself twice a day, and I have to take those injection pens with me. So I just show my card, and they don't even bother searching my luggage anymore.
Actually, that's what I need, because I'm diabetic, so I have to inject myself 5 times a day. And last time we went on a cruise, I got pulled out the queue because they thought I was carrying a bomb, because there were the things in a little call bag thing that I have to have.
Yeah, they were seeing probably your insulin pens.
Yeah.
Same thing. I recently went to Sri Lanka, and I think I had to take, I probably took 5 or 7 pens. And a quick tip: split them between your hand baggage and your case. So if you lose one, you've still got your medication. But you can, through the associations, and there is a diabetic association, or through your local doctor, they can give you a letter that does make life and transiting a lot easier.
I did have the letter, but unfortunately, they had the pens. I mean, once they found them all, I could show them the letter. But it was that day. It was a whole trauma, because I got called out 3 different times. They even swabbed everything, because they then thought I was carrying drugs. And the funny thing was, while all this was going on, there was a guy next to me, and they'd found a penknife in his bag. So they just finished dealing with me, and like Stephen's like, "Come on, we've got to go. We're in a hurry." And I'm like, I was waiting to see what was happening with the guy with the penknife, but he rushed me off, so I didn't find out what happened to him. But yeah, so I take it all out now. I put it in my hand luggage. I take it out and I put it in the little grey box. So as it goes through, it should be quite obvious what it is.
Yeah.
Talking about
well, just going to butt in here. I'm going to bring in our next guest, all the way from Canada. She's going to apparate in to the old Heale Manor. So, Marcia, you're in the manor.
Hello. Hi, Tim. Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I'm great, and you?
Welcome back.
Happy to be here.
Welcome back. Well, Marcia's got her own story.
Different story, but yes.
Yeah, different story, but on similar lines, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's all about catching it early.
Yes, and being an advocate, like being an advocate for yourself, even when you might be feeling like you might be putting somebody out, or you're being a pest, or you're trying to get your doctors to listen and hear what's happening. It's amazing, but it's not easy to be an advocate, but we're the only ones that can do it for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marcia, do you have the same problems over there, sort of post COVID, trying to get appointments and stuff with doctors?
We do. It's actually really scary right now, because we have a number of, it's a minimum 2 to 3 weeks to even get, if you had something that was, and you have to push to get in with your doctor. But we're having a major nursing shortage. And so we're in this place right now where some of our remote areas, and there's a lot of remote areas in Ontario. I can't speak for the other areas, but I can say in Ontario, Canada, there's a lot of remote areas that are just closing their ERs, completely closed. Not even, so you couldn't even, and you're in those remote areas, you probably don't have a doctor. Now you can't even access the ER that's there. It's really scary. And a lot of nurses that are leaving. So it's hard right now. Yeah.
Mm.
Is that because of pay, Marcia? Are they leaving because of pay or conditions?
Conditions, pay, and I've heard everything from, and I have a number of clients and people I work with who are nurses, and the conditions and the demand it's incredible what they're doing and the hours, but they're so short staffed. So, they're now carrying, I think where they might have carried a load of 1 to 3 patients, one nurse to 3 patients, they're now carrying 1 to 8 to 9 in the hospital. And so they just can't keep up. I actually had surgery in 2020, and I did get to, so very similar. I was in the hospital for 5 days, no visitors, nobody there, and really scary time. And I watched firsthand, honestly, some of the abuse that the nurses were taking, and it was really disturbing. It was just, all I could think was, can we please be better humans than this? Because we don't need to treat people like this. And to the point that I actually went and got a nursing, like a manager to come, and this patient was removed because I don't know if I've ever seen anyone treat another human that way, let alone in that kind of environment where everybody is already in like tense and stressed and upset. So I know there's a lot of them that are saying, you know what, I just don't get paid enough for this kind of stress. I don't need it. And they're walking. So yeah, it certainly compounds. It's a whole lot of factors, but it's all compounding to a very scary medical system right now. And a number of cases where, just even in our own family, where we've seen diagnosis of cancer that just it's so late that by the time they're getting in to see somebody, they've been struggling for months. And I think if you're not, sadly, if you're not a person who is okay with pushing to get in and staying, I think it's even harder. I do.
Yeah. I think it's about time these sort of public service individuals were acknowledged and paid a decent wage for what they do, because
couldn't agree more.
Nurses have never and will never strike. Doctors and nurses will never strike. They'll just carry on plodding on doing the job. They'll complain, they've got unions, but they'll never ever strike. Whereas any other industry that has a union will strike to get their the wages up. And I think the governments know this. But it's about time that we acknowledged the real work that they do, because we wouldn't be, well, a lot of us wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. So surely that's got a value.
I couldn't agree more. I honestly couldn't agree more. And I really feel, I've had incredible experience with physicians and nurses. And I can say, like, especially in those settings, the nurses who you see majority of the time, they are really are hands-on, and they deserve to be paid well. They do.
Yeah. I agree. And I also think because of the amount of strain that, health services across the world are facing at the moment, people aren't getting the care that they need. Just before lockdown, like version 1, a couple of years prior to that, I started having problems with my left breast, and it progressed and it progressed, and I was producing milk, I had blood, and I wasn't being listened to. Eventually, they sent me to have a mammogram, and when I walked in, there were 2 consultants sort of stood there like that, and she went, "Why are you here?" I went, well, because I'm in pain, I've got blood, I've got milk, I've never had kids, I'm not pregnant. And she went, "You're far too young to have cancer." She said, "It's just breast pain." She literally gave me a 5-second complimentary grope, gave me a breast pain leaflet, and sent me on my way. And then the bleeding got so bad, I was having to pad out my bras because it was just coming through my shirt and tops and stuff. And I kept on pushing and I kept on pushing. And eventually, when it got so bad, they sent me for an emergency mammogram. And it actually turned out that I had a papilloma in my milk duct. But they didn't know. Initially, I was told that they thought that it was cancerous because of all my other symptoms. So during the break between the first lockdown and the second lockdown, I had to go in and have a microductectomy so that they could biopsy the papilloma once it was removed. And thankfully, it turned out that it wasn't cancerous. But because I'd been left 2 years, and obviously it probably started before that until I got symptoms, if it hadn't been anything bad, it probably would have been game over. There's probably not that they could have done at that point. So, you know, it's not just about the pay conditions and stuff like that. It's, you know, they're putting people's lives on the line because they just haven't got enough people to sit down and talk to you and go through things. It's just like a cattle market. They're just like, yeah, next, okay, yeah, what can we, yeah, go, and no one's really taking in, you know, what people are going through and what their problems are, because they just can't deal with the amount of people that need all the services. And especially, you know, in the States and in Canada, you have to pay to go and see the doctors. And, you know, we're fortunate that we can go to the doctors and we don't have to pay. Obviously, we do pay in our taxes and stuff like that, but it's crazy, absolutely crazy at the moment.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I think I just want to say that I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I think that you're right. We definitely, yes, the working conditions, but I still think we can treat people better. I still think, like, regardless of the working conditions, because who didn't go through stress in the last 2 years? Sorry. It's just like, who didn't? So that's not an excuse to treat people poorly. And I think that is something that has been, I found super frustrating over the past couple of years, especially. But if you're a person, and you're passing blood and through that, like, that is just not where blood should pass through. That's just not okay. And so you should be taking that to the doctor and asking a question, and you should not be made to feel smaller than just because you're asking a question that is a very relevant question.
I actually went back to the car and absolutely sobbed because I was caught so off guard because how upfront and offish they was. I didn't really know what to do. I was dumbfounded. I was like, I don't really know what to do from here. And funny enough, when I went in to have my surgery, obviously everyone was wearing masks, and this lady the surgeon started talking to me, and I thought, hang on a minute, I recognise your voice. And I obviously must have looked at her that way. And she said, have we met before? I said, well, I can't tell because you've got a mask on, but your voice does sound very familiar to me. So she had a quick look through my notes, and she said, oh, yes, you did come to see me to have a mammogram. I went, what, the one that you refused to do because I'm too young to have cancer?
Good for you.
You are having to have a surgery and you don't know whether it's cancerous or not yet. I said, you better hope that it isn't cancerous because the way you treated me was awful and dismissive.
And that's like, especially if breast cancer is found in that, like, in a younger age, it is that much more critical to. I have a friend right now whose daughter is 27 and is going through incredibly aggressive cancer, and they dismissed it for the longest time. And she kept saying, I think something is, and it was like immediate once they finally went through and found out what it was. But no, it is definitely, like, it's even more reason to be looking into it when they're younger. So yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through all that.
Thank you. It turned out all right in the end.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be dismissive. You know, it's hard enough, I think, for some people to even take themselves into a medical setting.
Yes.
And you've got a doctor or a consultant who is dismissive, and they're stuck in it's only this certain age bracket that's it's affected. That's, again, you know, people are going longer without getting the right treatments because they don't fit into a certain category. But I said to the lady, I've had friends that are younger than me. I'm 40 in November, so I wouldn't say I'm particularly young, but I wouldn't say I'm particularly old either. But people who are younger than me who have gone through breast cancer and things, it does not matter how old you are.
No, it doesn't.
Her 30s, and she left 3 small children.
Yeah.
Well, we strayed slightly off the
We did, but same principle.
slightly off. However, what we'll do, we'll just have a quick look at testicular cancer before we move on to the next subject after that. The only thing that I really want to get across, and I think everybody will back me up on this one, is A, it's okay to talk about it. B, you need to check yourself regular. And if you do find something that doesn't feel quite right, because you should know your own body, then get it checked out. The sooner you get it checked out, the much better off you're going to be. Because if there is something wrong, it'll be vastly more treatable, caught early, than if it's left. And you do like Steve just made a bit of a comment on here. It's a big comment. Have a look at that. But that's been the problem for years. People have treated it like a stigma. And it's not. It's just not stigmatised. Everybody has to try and go about destigmatising the whole thing of cancers. I mean, it is in circumstances it's a taboo subject. Mental health. This is we've covered this before, but we are on a precipice. We are on the top of a volcano. We're going to see a huge amount of mental health issues coming off the back of the last couple of years. And we, as a society, need to be able to talk about it openly and destigmatise it, because the last thing we want to do is for people to bottle it all up. And the longer they bottle mental health issues up, the worse it gets. It's the same with any condition that you're going. That if you feel that there's something wrong, then do something about it. Talk to somebody about it. And we should have that conversation. And it's normal, and it should be normal to just get it out there. So, should we? I'm just going to say a few, a couple of plugs here. Can anybody that's not clicked the like button yet, click the like button. Doesn't cost anything. It doesn't. You don't get tracked down by the algorithms or anything like that, but it helps us. And I'll give a quick shout out to those that have done it. So Charlie's done it, Christine's done it, Stuart's done it, Dave's done it, Nick's done it, Sandra's done it, James has done it, Catherine's done it. So anybody else out there that hasn't clicked the like button, please give it a go. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, if you're on YouTube, then please subscribe to the channel, because it helps. It helps us all. It helps the channel grow, obviously, and it does get the message out there. So moving on then, our next big subject. Oh, hang on, I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. What have I got to do? Got to go there. I've got to do that. I've got to do this.
At least your microphone's on tonight, Tim. That's the main thing.
I know. I came straight in with it today. There you go. Here is our next subject that we're going to have a chat about. So let me just pull that off to one side. There you go. We're going to talk about the menopause. And if the ladies would like to start and just give us a bit of a heads up on what you ladies go through with the menopause, just some of the key points about it. Who'd like to sort of start off on that one? Marsha?
It looks like I'm the only one old enough. But actually, I didn't have any symptoms or anything. So they had to do a blood test. So no hot sweat. Oh, I might have mood changes maybe, but maybe. I certainly didn't have any of the other things. I'm sure I was a joy.
You wait until I start.
Mine might have been different, and I guarantee you, mine was not smooth. I guarantee you, mine had to be medically induced, and I was 38. So it was very at that point. As my surgeon said to me, most women get a decade to be able to adjust to this, and you're going to get 90 minutes. And he said, and there's no going back. And I had to have mine for medical reasons. So when it came to the point, and actually just to back up a second, I had to advocate to have it done. So it's funny that we're talking about at the advocating part, because I had a gut feeling and I'd had multiple surgeries before then. And so when we went in, I said, we're going to have to, we end up taking it all. And he said, no, we're going to leave your ovaries because we don't want to put you into menopause. And we joked that let's make a bet on it, because I was pretty sure they would have to go. And when I woke up, his first words were, how did you know? And I said, because I just knew. He goes, I'm not sure you would have seen 40. Those were his exact words. I'm not sure you would have seen 40. And so I've learned over the years to be the advocate when my gut tells me something is not right. And, but to go through it artificially, it was like something else that completely taken over my body. There's no other way to explain it. It's like we live in Canada, so we have winter minimum 4 to 6 months a year. And I didn't wear a winter coat that whole, not once, didn't wear it because hot flashes. And I think, in all fairness to women who experience them, we joke about them but they're intense. They're incredibly intense. It's like an oven goes off inside of your body, but in seconds, and there's no warning, no nothing. So I just got used to wearing a spring jacket in the winter because it was so uncomfortable. And because of that also meant sleeping was almost impossible, because there was just you put a blanket on, take it off, blanket on, take it off. And if I remember correctly, there were many, many, many weeks that I did not sleep in the same bed as my husband, because I couldn't get a temperature, and I wanted the windows open in the middle of winter. So we joked about it, but there were actual changes in the body. And I mean, I was probably averaging 15 to 20 an hour. And so it was intense. It was like something had happened inside of me and it was outside of my control. So of course, mood swings went with that. Lack of sleep brings mood swings, all of the things. So it was a very challenging time. And I think even more so because I didn't have a lot of people I could talk to about it. I didn't have any friends who were going through it at 38. I didn't have my kids were young, and I didn't have anyone I could ask. So everything felt foreign. Everything felt incredibly foreign.
You're talking sort of past tense, Marsha. Does that mean that you don't have these problems anymore?
I don't. I've had 2 additional surgeries post hysterectomy. I have had 2. That wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't supposed to need any more, but I did. And how I knew I needed more was because I started to have signs again. Signs and symptoms of this feels like hot flashes. This doesn't feel right. Even to the point then where I actually started to bleed again. Sorry to be, but just being real, I started to bleed again. And that's physiologically impossible because there's nothing there anymore. And that required very fast surgery. So I've just been told that that's a possibility. I will have to do that again. I have nothing in comparison to where it was, but I will still swing between hot and cold really fast, really, really fast, but nothing like what it was.
Yeah. And you haven't taken any hormone replacement therapy or anything?
So this was part of the concern. And this is, again, going back to the advocate part, because they did take everything. They gave me estrogen right away because they said, you're too young. We don't know what the long-term picture is going to look like for you to go through this. And part of their concern is heart and density. So they had me taking estrogen, but within a year of having my hysterectomy, I actually started to bleed again. And that required a fairly emergency surgery. And that's when the surgeon said, we can't give you estrogen because estrogen is actually helping it to grow again and you can't have it. So that means you have to keep your health a priority, continue to exercise and know that bone density is something that we will continue to monitor as you get older. So it was a catch-22 because they don't know what life is going to look like. But I mean, right now, that was it's almost exactly 14 years ago that I had, and I wouldn't trade like any of the discomfort for me. I wouldn't trade going back to where I was before, not in nothing, because this is so much better quality than what I had before.
Yeah. I mean, Tim was talking before the show actually about one of the topics here is the impact that the female menopause has on the male partner, because it does. My wife, she's about the same age as me, and she's been through the menopause. And because her mother had breast cancer, and there was supposed to be a link. There was rumors of links between HRT and breast cancer. So my wife didn't go onto HRT, so sort of braved it out for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then a friend of ours, a very good friend of ours, who's a pharmacist, sat down with my wife quite recently, this about 4 or 5 months ago now, and said, look, I've listened to all your symptoms. You need to go on HRT. Forget all that rubbish about breast cancer. It's such a loose link, and it's such a low number of people. You've got to be extremely unlucky for it to affect you. You need to try this HRT. And she did, and it's absolutely transformed her. She's a different person. This hot flushing business that you mentioned, I just had visions of you walking through the snow and it melting as you walk through.
That was essentially, I'd be in the grocery store and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I'm dying. I have to get this off. It was just super intense.
Yeah.
Yes, they've changed a lot of their research on HRT for women. Like not that they've changed it, but they know more now.
Yeah.
And they definitely do encourage it. I've just been told that it's not an option for me.
Yeah. But that moment when you have those hot flushes, if your partner's lying next to you, he can feel that. You can feel the heat radiating through. It's incredible. It's not just a thing that you feel. It's the person lying next to you feels it as well.
Well, and I'm glad that you said that, honestly, because my husband used to say that. Like, he's like, your face is burning up. And I'm like, it's an oven inside of me. I can't even explain it. And as silly as that sounds, as silly as this sounds, this is why I think this is such an important topic, Tim, is that was just some validation that, okay, am I going crazy? Like, I don't understand what's happening to me because my body was not responding. Like, it didn't feel normal. Nothing felt normal. And him even validating, like, what else can I do? Because I can see you're literally burning up. And it's just that open communication, I think, is really important, because it's very disconcerting as a female. It's like you feel like something foreign is taking over your body. Not that we had a lot of experience of that in our life, but that's really what it feels like, is it's foreign.
Yeah.
Well, I can shed a bit more light onto this story. My late wife, she went through it, and for me, I mean, she went through. I mean, she really went through the mill with it. The hot sweats, the mood swings, and for me, I felt that most of the time I had to walk around as I'm walking on eggshells. I was on a knife edge, and just one little word out of place, and she'd snap and she'd rip my arm off and start beating me with a socky end, and she'd get violent with it. She never did suffer fools lightly, and God, the time she'd sort of lay into me, and it was just like that, and a minute later she cooled down, and then when we went to bed, I mean, she said, "I'm freezing," and then the next minute she's like laying next to a radiator full on, and throwing all the covers off, windows wide open in the middle of winter. Oh, I mean, it was horrendous what she went through, and she went through this over a period of about 10 years,
which is common. It's very common for it to be 10 years for women.
And the real sad part of the whole story is, as she was coming out the back end of it, she'd got non-Hodgkin's high-grade lymphoma.
Yeah.
So went through that at the back end of having this. Got the all clear. Lasted a year and 11 months. They said if you last 2 years, you should be fairly clear. A year and 11 months later, it came back, and it came back far, far more aggressive. This is the cancer. And she lasted 6 weeks before she died. And it was horrendous, really horrendous what she went through. And it's that feeling of uselessness. There was nothing I could do to help. And I think for me, having gone through 10 years of that, the process of the menopause for her was horrendous. And I felt for her every day. And it was. You never ever knew where you were with it. I mean, 1 minute, she'd be fine for weeks, and then all of a sudden, it just one little trigger, and she's at me. She's pulled it off, and she's beat me with a stick.
But you have to remind yourself that I have to remind myself that she's still the same person, and she's not doing this on purpose. It's not a deliberate thing. She's not deliberately attacking me. And as long as you know that and you realise that, and don't retaliate is the other thing, and don't not retaliate, because that's often as bad, then it's usually okay.
You know what? That's actually, I think, and I think that's where the open communication is so important, because I can say honestly, like, I would behave that way, and then I would be equally frustrated going like, what is happening to me? Why? I don't even understand why I'm acting this way. Like, it is just hormonally, it takes over, and it's like an out of body experience. Cause I'm not saying it's okay to act that way, but I know I did multiple times. And trying to have communication where it's like, I don't know what to say or do, but I feel completely out of control of my body right now. And it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah. My wife says the same thing. If she has a moment like that, she asks herself afterwards, what happened there? Why did I behave that way? You know, she's sort of asking herself. So you know it's not being done on purpose.
No.
It's part of the game, isn't it?
It is. It's very powerful. It's very powerful. But I think, like, yes. And then we kind of we had to learn to get to a point of having a sense of humor and just say, I'm just really off right now. Like, you might want to give me some space, because I don't know what's going to, it's not personal. It's not personal. And I would try and have we just try many times to have open communication. But when we talk about hot flashes, just to be like descriptive, as you say hot, I just had a visual that I forgot. Like, it's not that I would wake up hot. I would wake up soaked. Like my hair would be soaked. My face would be running down. And it would be like, okay, that's, it's that intense.
Yeah. Helen used to have to change her night dress 2 or 3 times a night, and she'd put towels on the bed and sleep on a towel. I
forgot about that, but I just remembered.
On a cold night, it was nice cuddling up to her to get warm. I have to say.
I'm sure.
I think
well, if I can throw in a bit of advice at this stage, this is particularly for blokes. If your wife is going through it, you have to stay the way you are. If you try and change, trust me. If you've never taken flowers home, don't start, because the first thing that will go through her mind is, what's he been up to? and that'll start it. So if you've never done it, don't do it, because you're asking for trouble. And it's what you need to do is to, on the calm times, sit down and just talk about it openly to her. Try and encourage her to say that you understand what she's going through. Try and have that open conversation that you know and what to expect. And it's normal to have that, and it's normal for women to go through it. It's different for every woman. It really is different for every woman. Some women, they go through it and they don't even know it's happened.
Yep.
Other women have really go through the mill, and it's the worst thing you could ever wish upon your worst enemy. But you just have to be supportive. You just have to know that sooner or later she's going to flare up, and it's not you. Unless you're taking flowers home and you don't normally do it.
Unless you start behaving strangely.
So from that perspective, it's just having the open conversation. Let her know that you're there to support her. Give her that support. Give her as much kindness that you can. Because, I mean, it is a debilitating condition for some women, and yeah, if just be nice to them, and hopefully it won't be too bad. And occasionally you'll have to sleep in another room because you wouldn't be able to sleep with her, because that is just horrendous sometimes. So what we're going to do, let's have a. I'm just going to have a big plug. So anybody that's still out there that hasn't had a click of the what's the name? Evening, Tracy. Tracy's in the room and click the like button, which is great. Steve Little's in the room, can't get in. Sorry, Steve. What else we got going on? I'm just going to, because I haven't done this for a little while, just going to give a quick heads up on what's coming. So, next week we've got the rugby special. We're going to look at the Premiership. We're going to look at the international players. We're going to have a look at Northampton possibly, and maybe a few other teams. We're going to look at the regimental rugby, and we're also going to incorporate that the mental health aspect of playing rugby and getting injured and that side of it. So we're still going to be concentrating on the mental health side of the conversation that we're having, and all we're trying to do is destigmatise that mental health is okay to not be okay, and it's okay to talk. The following week is the archaeological special, and that's going to be fascinating. That's going to be, I've got some real experts coming on. We're going to look at marine archaeology, we're going to look at land archaeology, we're going to look at environmental archaeology and the impact that it has on all of our lives. You might think that it doesn't, but archaeology is a big part of our lives. If they're digging up roads to put in a new road, or they're digging up a greenfield site to put on a new estate, and they find something, that they close the site down until the archaeologists have been in and checked it out. When they're dredging, if they dredge up stuff, then it's the archaeologists, it's the marine archaeologists that go in and assess it, and that's how they found like the Mary Rose and stuff like that. So it's fascinating. The following 2 weeks are going to be the 15th and the 22nd are going to be specials. They're going to be pre-recorded specials that will come out as premiere ones that you'll be able to put comments in as the show goes on, and might be able to interact. Not exactly sure how it works, but they're going to be a couple of specials, and they'll be, when they come out, you'll see why. And then at the end of September, the last week, the 29th, we've got a big Veterans Mental Health Special, and we're going to be focusing primarily on suicide and awareness and in our veterans, because at the present moment in time, there's roughly about 22 people taking their lives a day in the UK, and a vast majority of those are veterans, and that's what we're going to be looking at. And if you haven't already, that's the plug for my podcasts, for ordinary people with extraordinary stories. And if you haven't checked into those yet, there's some fascinating people, ordinary people telling their stories. So check that out. So there you go. That's the plugs done. click the like button, click the subscribe button, because if we could grow this channel, we could get more people involved in talking about and opening up these were taboo subjects that ain't anymore. We are having it as a normal everyday conversation, and that's what we're trying to do. These taboo subjects, we're destigmatising them and making it a normal conversation that you can have in polite company. Talking of polite company, let's go back to our guests. So thank you everybody for letting me plug away. So we're still on the menopause. We're an hour and a quarter in. We ain't got long left.
Oh,
Time is flashing by on us. But I think it's really, really important what we're doing is having these conversations. And the female menopause affects both parties, the male and the female, in different ways, obviously. And it's a conversation that needs to happen. And particularly if you've got a young lady that's going through it. And again, it's recognising those symptoms when they start coming. And if there is something you feel is wrong, get it checked out. The sooner you get it checked out, the easier it is to treat. And I can't stress that enough.
Tim, I'm not sure whether you heard before, but obviously, like, we my wife and we're going to have to go through this together. We're both going to have to deal with us being potentially not very nice.
I'm moving home.
So Mum said, I hope that happens after you move out. She don't want to deal with it either.
Well, because you're sort of knocking, you're getting up to that sort of that age, aren't you?
It's dangerous territory, yeah. To be
Have
fair,
you got a cab in your lorry, Stephanie?
see, Mum doesn't know when she went through the menopause, potentially quite early. When did you? So yeah, they found it through the blood test. Now I've already started having a few symptoms, like the flushes and sweating so bad. I've had to start wearing a hat to work because it is literally pouring down my face. And I've got issues. I've had to start wearing a baseball cap to work because I just look like I'm really unfit. I'm like purple. I'm like just wet everywhere, and I'm like, this is not good.
Of course, what you could do is get one of those sort of 70s, 80s sweatbands.
Sweatband.
I think about that, and I thought, I don't look good in a hat, but I think I prefer a hat rather than walking around with sweatbands on my wrists, and yeah. It's not fun. I've been out with people a couple of times. They're like, Steph, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just really hot. Just so hot. So,
Put the air conditioning on.
Yeah. I'd normally just go and stand in the freezer for a bit.
Does it help?
No, well, no, it's a weird feeling. Martha, you can probably
raising the temperature.
Yeah, you can feel the cold against your skin, but that makes absolutely zero difference to how hot you feel with inside. Like, you can feel it's cold, but it's not cold at all. I can go all winter without. I'll walk around in a t-shirt because I'm hot.
Mm.
We have arguments in the winter because I want the winter duvet on because I'm freezing, and she wants the summer duvet on because she's hot.
And I've got the fan and the windows open. And I'm like, baby, it's really cold in here. And I'm like, it's not cold enough.
And I sleep next to the window as well, so I'm always cold.
Of course, it could go the other way. Like, I mean, you come out of it, and Anne goes into it.
Yeah, you don't.
The tables get turned.
She's got a few years.
I might have
3
to
years
come and
younger.
stop with you, Tim. This isn't sounding good, is it?
We haven't got the room.
I
So-
think I'll be relegated to the sheds in the garden, I think.
We're quite fiery at the best of times, aren't we?
So Richard's been a bit quiet on this subject.
I don't think he's still there. He sort of moves
Well-
away from the camera.
I actually Googled today men's menopause.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I I didn't know, but and the same sort of symptoms, and it kept on referring to the lack of testosterone.
I've got it in bucket loads.
Yeah. But you should be all right then. But that, you know, I hadn't really thought about it or heard about it, but I googled it and to see what it said. And I was quite surprised at the number of men who go through it and their changes and everything, because their body, their hormones and their body changes and their body stops producing testosterone.
Oh, it is an interesting comment. So I think John's going through it. So can you elaborate a little bit there, Tracy? So, see if Tracy comes back with a comment. Let us know how John's getting on, how he's going through it.
Yeah.
I have heard that there is a male menopause. It's not common, I don't think. So I guess blokes could.
The issue is, Tim, we all think what we have to go through when the women are going through it, but what they haven't done is told us what the women are going through when we've got it.
I think Tracy might tell you in a second.
Oh, there you go. He turns the heating off. I put it on. Saving money.
Stingy.
Yeah,
I think your sting was the same. I just don't think you wanted to pay the electric bill.
So that could have something to do with it, is trying to keep the bills down. So we're drying up. Why are we drying up on a subject like this? Are we finding it difficult to talk about?
I'm definitely going to be Googling male menopause later, though.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
I will.
Yeah.
It's obviously got to be a thing, hasn't it? Because, you know, if we go through hormone changes, men have got to too. So it might explain, like, midlife crises and stuff.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis. God blimey, I've been through a few of those. God dear, I have one every other week, a midlife crisis. Something new, a new toy to play with. So I'm sure the guys can back me up on that one. I mean, that is a thing, a midlife crisis. I mean, I've had a Lotus, I've had motorbikes. I've got my new toys here. I mean, I'm playing with the
Your
show.
pocket when it goes, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, unfortunately, being a poor pensioner and everything, I can't afford a lot of my midlife crisis.
Yeah. So who have you still got online listening to us, Tim?
Well, it looks like we've got quite a lot of people out there. Obviously, the chat's fairly busy. Tracy, Christine, anybody that's still out there, can you just put hi in the chat box and say hi, and just so we know you're still there. There is quite a lot of people looking at there, watching. So, yeah, Christine's there. Who else is there? Come on, call to action. Put a hi in the chat box. Let us know you're there, and it's not just us talking to ourselves. Well, cool. Corinne's still there. Coco H is still there.
Corinne, have you hit the like button and not the laughy button?
Yeah, Corinne's watching on YouTube. So I think, although we can see the comments here, I don't think we can see the like that goes on the YouTube. But certainly, if anybody's on the YouTube, can they bang the old subscribe button, because that helps. So, Marsha, tell us a bit about your podcast.
Oh, there you go.
We had a great chat the other night.
We did. I just went through it and listened to it. My podcast is called Own Your Choices, Own Your Life. And it is really about the pivotal points in our life when we take responsibility for our choices and stop, being angry or blaming others for where we are with our circumstances, and then the changes that happen as a result of that. And some of the stories that come in are just, they're so incredible. Yes, we had a great conversation the other day. Yeah.
Can't wait for that episode to come out, actually.
Yeah, I know. It'll be a good one. I think we've recorded up to like 460, 470 now. So
Way
it's
ahead of me.
wow. I started long before it was a thing to do, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So it's all good. You just have to learn as you keep going.
Are they all on that same topic, Marsha? They're all on that topic of taking responsibility, yeah?
Yep. And like when I first started it, it was very much a case where a lot of people said, I mean, nobody's going to come in and talk about difficult things. And I had this faith and belief that that's the reason that we're in the position that we're in, is because nobody wants to talk about the difficult things in life. So if we can create space where we can start talking about it more, then I just think it opens up more doors. So yeah, I've had stories that blow me away sometimes. Everything from, abuse to addiction, overcoming circumstances, health challenges that you would never ever believe. But for almost every single one of them, what I think is such a beautiful thing is that when I ask them, the last question I always ask them is what lesson in life they're most grateful for. A lot of times they'll say it's the circumstances. It's the story that they've walked through, the challenges that they've had. It's made them who they are. And so, yeah, it just helps others. It really helps others.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look you up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Don't worry, Tim. I'll still come back here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's a wonderful thing. Honestly, podcasting has brought so many incredible people into my circle, and I've got to meet so many different people. So that's one. Yeah. I have a second podcast called Everybody Holds a Story, and it's literally all about bodies and stories. I'm on this. I believe that I'm here to normalize and talk about the difficult things that people don't like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like we've lost our host. Where's he gone?
Just going to say, where's our host? Because if we lost our host, how are we still going?
I keep imagining he's going to suddenly appear in the Mekon's household amongst those
three ladies. That was
ladies.
a segue, wasn't it? You wanted me to take that because you needed a break.
I thought he was going to appear with Catherine and Stephanie too. It's not snuggling next to them.
We've gone out to buy another pie.
So you got the minion there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had to apparate out of the room in a minute.
Yeah.
There was a crisis.
Yeah.
So, it's hot. I think I'm having a flush. I know how it feels, girls. I really do. I'm melting. I think it's just today has been really hot and muggy. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, it has.
Nice.
Well, it's rain all day, but it hasn't helped. Hasn't cleared the air.
Good for the gardens, though.
Oh yeah, the grass has gone green again already.
It's incredible how quickly it springs back, isn't it? After all this hot weather, all of a sudden the grass suddenly becomes green. All the flowers come out. They look a bit weird on these long stems with dead leaves, and there's a nice bright flower on the top.
Haven't you been having like one of the hottest drought periods of? I was reading something about this recently.
Yeah, it's not been
in the
fun.
UK. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, everyone else is like, but we have a lot of hot weather than you guys do all the time. But that's the difference all the time. We don't have aircon in the houses, and stuff like that. And then we've had, what were we, like 38, 40 degrees? And it's the heat is so different than when you're on holiday. It was just, and like I work outside.
You're doing different things.
Yeah,
as
and you're
well,
doing,
'cause you're
and it's
working.
just, oh, it was insane. It was really, I got through about 8 litres of water in about 7 hours at work. I just couldn't keep hydrated. It was
Wow.
really bad.
Wow. We haven't had the heat. We have not had a lot of rain though. Like we have had we've only had probably a few days of rain. And I think, all joking aside, I think we've cut our grass twice this summer, which has never happened. Like you can't, it's just not, there's been no grass because it's so dry.
Does your grass still stay green though?
No, it was super brown. But if I look at it now, we had a big rainstorm the other day and it's green in patches, but it's not all green. But you get to a point where it's like they just say it's dormant and it'll come back, but it's completely just bone dry. Mm-hmm.
Well, we had no mow May, so they didn't, all the grass verges and everything, they didn't mow, and it was for wildlife, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And everything. So the grass was already quite long.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we had a lot of field fires and the emergency services have been kept very busy over the past few months with the heat. We had a field fire probably about half a mile from us. The fire completely engulfed one of the old cottages that's been there for centuries. But thankfully they managed to stop it before it caught the house on fire, but they were getting ready to start evacuating the houses near the fields. But the fields literally joined pretty much all around our city. So if they hadn't have got it under control, pretty much it would have just spread all the way round.
Well, the farmers cleared it, didn't they?
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. They're getting right up close to the fires, and then they're ploughing all of the straw or whatever's there to try and prevent it from spreading. And the firefighters are there, and local farmers were coming down with their big water drums to try and wetten all of the stuff surrounding so it didn't spread. It was all hands on deck, pretty much across the country, I think. So
wow.
Yeah, it's been crazy times.
Anyway, I've got some questions.
Okay.
What do you think to this new format where I'm cutting people in and out and bringing in the odd comment or two? Do you like it? Or do you prefer it back as back how it looked the last time? This is how we used to do it, and I think that was fairly static. But I was talking to somebody the other day, and they gave us a little bit of constructive criticism, which I've taken on board. So thanks, Keith. So I've started doing this, and I think it gives a lot more pizzazz to the show.
It's good because you can see who's talking too, so you sort of, they're the main focus, and then when other people come in.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So I mean, this is the way I'm going to try and take it forward. So we're going to try and keep it going forward like this. Obviously, getting in the guests makes a massive, massive, massive difference. So anybody out there would like to come onto the show and be part of the panel, you would be most welcome. And the way to do it is just to drop me a message on Messenger or I don't know, send me an owl. And what? Yeah. And then you can pop in the Flu Network. Over there, look over there.
I love that.
You can come in. You're coming through the fireplace. It's not like in the Dursley's house, where they boarded it up.
It's not.
We could talk about Harry Potter if you like.
We are.
Yeah, I know.
I love Harry Potter.
I love Harry Potter.
They've opened the Dursley's house, which is really cool. And then we're going back on the 6th of October, and treated us to, we're going to go and have a meal in the Great Hall, and then like after hours, and then we get a complete tour around all the sets, and you get to see things that people don't get to see during the day. It's because it's for Halloween. It's gonna have the Death Eaters and stuff there. You get loads of pictures and butterbeer, and yeah, it's gonna be a good day.
It's quite exciting.
That would be
So-
fun.
Oh, it's so fun. We've done a few, and it's just, you know, there's only 100 people there, and you have a 3-course meal in the Great Hall, and then you can just walk around the rest of it at your own leisure. It's great, and you get to see a lot more, and you're not rushed, and people tell you things that you haven't heard before or seen. So yeah, it's really great.
Do people get dressed up for it? Do people get all dressed up? Or
Subtly, I won't. I mean, people will go all out and they'll wear their robes and whatever. I like my shoes and my bags, and I had a really lovely pair of stilettos made that was all painted with Harry Potter themed stuff. So I sort of low key had a Harry Potter bag and my shoes. So yeah.
So there's something nice. My granddaughter's been watching tonight. So Lily, thank you very much for joining in.
Aww.
Oh, got something. Kelly Sargent has joined.
Hey,
No, you've got all the makeup on here tonight.
She says hi. Obviously paying attention. Unlike the rest of you, come on, just say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, another hi. Right. Where were we? We've got about 20 minutes to go. So are we going to change the subject? Are we going to talk about something new?
I don't know. Maybe something lighter. I don't know.
Something like, yes, definitely. Let's lighten this. Let's delve in to Harry Potter and come up with some questions. So
It's like Harry Potter quiz.
yeah, so we got some Harry Potter experts in tonight, obviously.
Careful. Although I would say, yes, my husband would say that, but I know I'm not an expert.
Are you a Harry Potter fan? Have you read all the books?
Yes. Yes.
Have you seen all the films?
How many times? Yes.
Did you have to buy new discs because you wore the first lot out?
Yeah. I love them. I love the whole series. I love it. We actually my girlfriend and I just got tickets to go see The Cursed Child in Toronto. It finally is in Toronto here. So yeah, my husband I think he was actually relieved that I had somebody who would take I think he was relieved. He was like, oh yeah, have fun. That's awesome. I'm glad she's going with you. Yes. Yeah, no, I love them. They're my go-to.
Are you doing it on the same day or? Yeah. Oh, that's good. We did it one day and then went back the next evening. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when we were looking at the tickets, so it means it'll be a longer show. But it's from what I heard from people, they said they preferred it being in one show as opposed to 2 separate shows.
Yeah. I didn't really think about it, to be fair. It was just like, okay, we're going back to the next night. But yeah, it probably would be better to see it all at once.
Yeah.
Let's go and watch them all back to back. The Harry Potter films. Oh, Twilight.
But we've got Harry Potter playing like the films and stuff constantly. We've
Same.
got books and just read them all the time because you know there's things that because when you're watching the films, I think if you've read the books and then watched the films, which I did, it was always we was working in Tesco's at the time. And I used to say, I need to take my break at 11:30. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because the Harry Potter book's coming out. And I was first in the queue waiting for midnight to go and get my book. And I always booked the next day off so that I could read it all in one day. So, yeah.
You know what? For anybody who's listening, you might think I had a friend who said to me, you have to read it. You have to try it. And I thought, okay, fine. It's like a kid's book. I didn't know. And I read that first book in like a day. And I was like, okay, this was really good, actually. And it's just fun. It's just fun. It's something that I go back to regularly. But movie-wise, yeah, I go through the series and watch them regularly. And then in December, we tend to do them like back to back to back to back and watch it over Christmas. So yeah, it's one of my favorites.
So next question is, what about Fantastic Beasts? Have you seen? I've seen all three, and the first one was pretty good. The second one was a bit. The third one, it's quite. I like that. I think that the third one's pretty good.
I'm the same as you.
Got thoughts?
The first one I really liked. The second one was like, it was okay, but it was just not as. But the third one I really liked.
Yeah, I agree. I think the third one though, because Johnny Depp's not in it. Because Johnny Depp's not in it, I was a bit like, oh, he should be Grindelwald.
I know.
But yeah, no, it was good, but yeah, it would have been nice to see Johnny carrying on. But
yes, it would have.
Well, I think Mads has done a pretty good job of it, actually.
Yeah, I like Mads.
I think Johnny Depp. I think because he's done sort of Pirates of the Caribbean, and he did that. Was it Chocolate Factory or something like that? He just looks. He just. I don't know. You get that feeling. He's just the same sort of nutty character. Whereas I think Mads Mikkelsen has brought something new to it. It's a bit like when Richard Harris died and they brought in what's his name? Go on in, Dumbledore. Who's Dumbledore? Come on.
Ian McKellen. No,
it's not.
no, it's not.
Google.
Come on, somebody put it in the chat box. Who's
Alexa,
the new Dumbledore?
who plays Dumbledore in Harry Potter?
Who played Dumbledore?
What, in the latest one, The Crimes of Dumbledore?
No,
Richard
the original series when
original
Richard Harris
series.
died.
Yeah.
After Richard Harris.
Michael Gambon.
Michael
got it.
Gambon.
Oh, there, I got it. Michael Gambon. Hey. And it's Jude Law in the new series.
Really?
Yeah. He
I like
plays
Jude
Dumbledore.
Law. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it, actually. I did like the third film in the Fantastic Beasts. I thought because it was so long anticipated. I think because they did a rewrite and stuff on it. They made a lot of changes to it, and I think they've improved it a lot.
Yeah, it's quite nice when you go to the Watford studios now because they're integrating the Fantastic Beasts more as you walk round, whereas before they were sort of fairly separate, albeit sort of set in the same sort of times and people. And stuff.
It's quite recent though, the new one, isn't it? It's this year, the new Crimes of Dumbledore. I've not seen it yet. I'll have to get Helen to get it. Probably stream it or something now, can't you?
Yeah, you can actually download it. You can get it's downloadable. It's about the same price as a DVD, I guess, or the Blu-ray ones.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen it. I think it's passed us by, which is quite strange because Helen's a massive Harry Potter fan. I like it.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, I like it, but Helen's absolutely bonkers about it.
I think some people don't feel the love for the Fantastic Beasts. They're sort of feeling it's a little bit, I don't know, it's not quite the same, but enjoy it.
It's very well done. It's a very well done production. And if you watch the early Harry Potters and compare them to the later ones, obviously the technology and everything was just amazing at the end, wasn't it? And then I think Fantastic Beasts just carried on, hasn't it, with that
exactly
improvement.
Isn't it amazing how it crosses all the ages? Doesn't matter whether you're 7 or 70. You know, it's her imagination is just amazing.
And do you know what I really want to know? When Dumbledore felt that it was time to get rid of the suave suits and rock a full-on wizard cape.
Yeah.
Why did he decide that? He could have been rocking out the suits, but no. Gets his wizard coat.
That's hilarious.
And
Yeah, I think one of the best parts is her story, like J.K. Rowling's story, as far as like how hard she worked to get that published. I think it's just a reminder of no one's going to see your vision and your dream. You have to fight for it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, see, there's some comments down here. Evening, Mark. Did you get Hailing Island tonight, or was it rained off or something? But welcome, Tracy and Kelly. Haven't seen Harry Potter.
What? We've got mugs.
Where have they been? Now, come on, girls.
Don't nip them in our
Nip
face.
round and see Stephanie borrow the books, and
Yes.
you won't ever put a book down. Once you start, you wouldn't put it down. There's such a well written story. Everybody should, and because there's the film series as well, I think you benefit from having read the books, and then see the films. And then go back and read the books, because then it gives you a much clearer picture in your mind's eye of the characters. And I think that's the brilliance of it. And there's so much more detail in the books, and I think that really makes it.
There's a lot of things that are not in the movies, right? That if you haven't read the books. So when my husband went to see it with us, he was just like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Well, that was in the book, but it's not in the movie." So you forget he doesn't like, if you haven't read them, then there's a lot of pieces that they don't put in the movie because they just don't have the space for it.
I was gutted that they didn't feature Peeves. I think that was quite a sort of a fun part of it, and you had Rick Mayall playing it, and then they decided not to go with it and completely leave him out. I think. You know?
Yeah, that was there was Winky was the other one that they left out. I think that was another really important part of the story, because Winky at the Quidditch World Cup was a key part of that story in the books, and they didn't bring that story to the film.
No.
Mark says he didn't go to Hailing. Oh well, I guess next week will probably be the last one, will it, Mark? Mark normally does a live outside broadcast for us from Hailing Island Bike Night, which is on a Thursday. Yeah, so I love the books, I love the films, and I love going to the studio. I've been in the studio a few times.
Imagine how cool
But
that
I haven't.
would be.
We went there last year was it last year? Yeah, it must have been last year for Rose's birthday. But it didn't have the new. There was a few new bits and pieces in there, but they didn't incorporate or didn't notice the Fantastic Beasts stuff that they put in. So has that just been put in recently?
Yeah, so they've just got the Mandrakes greenhouse, and they've got a lovely new place that does afternoon tea. It's amazing. Yeah, there's loads of new bits. The thing, like, we've gone a lot, but every time you go, there's always something different, or they move things around, and yeah, it doesn't matter how many times you go, it is always different. We're actually going there on the Thursday, so we might be able to do an outside broadcast from the Great Hall.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they allow anything like that inside? I don't suppose. Yeah. I mean, you can take as many photos as you like inside, can't you? Yeah.
I haven't been since it first opened, so it would be all new to me.
Yeah.
Have you been to the studio?
Tim, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you say you like Harry Potter?
10. 10. Simple 10.
I thought you might say 9 3/4, but
God, I see where you've done that. I see where you're coming. I'm a bit slow tonight. I didn't get in till midnight last night from the funeral yesterday, and then I didn't actually get to bed till 6 o'clock this morning. I was up busy working. through the night, and I had a little drink as well to me mate. So I managed to get about 3 hours sleep. So I'm slightly behind the curve tonight. I'm not as a live wire as I normally am.
We
But-
had a little nap this afternoon so we wouldn't fall asleep.
Old girl's half hour. Yeah.
I know 40 minutes or set a timer.
Well,
And a power nap.
I had a nana nap, so it was an hour.
I can't just fall asleep on the sofa though. I have to physically go up and get comfortable in the pillow.
I don't have that trouble.
You know, my favourite thing about the Harry Potter films is the calibre of actors and actresses they managed to get to take part in it. There's no other film franchise that will have the sheer amount of talent that was on offer in those films.
I think they were queuing up to join, weren't they? As the films went on, you got more and more big actors coming in because they just wanted to be part of that whole story.
Yeah.
See, I'm always fascinated by the little things. So while all the big things are going on, I'm looking in the background, like where wand boxes are, and they've all actually different names on them.
Anne's cousin is actually named on one of the boxes in the
really?
studio because she was part of the film, like working behind the scenes.
I think it's the attention to detail that they put into the whole process, right from the very, very beginning, all the way through the whole of the franchise. The absolute attention to detail of every minute detail. I mean, you look everywhere. When you go and look around the studios and you look at the sets and stuff like that, just take a closer look. Dumbledore's office, the books on the bookshelf are actual books.
Yeah.
Did you?
Everything is down to minute detail, even though half of it wasn't actually seen on film. A lot of it just was sort of brushed over. I think it was the whole effect that it gave, and gave that authenticity to the whole film.
I mean, even down to their bank teller's book, so you can actually see the book now, and like you can see just it's all handwritten, and they it's not just gobbledygook in there. It's actual sums and things like that written in it, and it's
Same as Snape's potion book as well, isn't it? That's filled with pages of ingredients and stuff like that. When you went, Tim, did they have the pen sieve in Dumbledore's office?
Yes, I think they did. We went last November for Rose's birthday.
Oh, nice.
So it's a year ago almost that we went, and it's been a few years since we've been. So was really impressed with the bank and the dragon. Coming out through the floor and stuff, and that was one of the really impressive things that I thought. And there was a few other bits that had been added, but I don't recall anything from Fantastic Beasts. Have they got the the big round thing that they in the last film? Is that in there? Because that's in Hogwarts, isn't it?
No. I think they're gonna, because of how popular they've got now, I think they're gonna, and because of how many people want to see it, I think they're gonna start adding a bit more bits on. I mean, when we went to the first meal in the Great Hall, they said they only expected the small exhibition that they had there to start off with, that it was only going to be there for about 6 months. Because honestly didn't think anyone was going to be interested, but just around across the world come to the studios, and it's just getting bigger and bigger each time. And I think they're now going to have to add on another part to incorporate everything within the Fantastic Beasts, I think, because people are really interested in that as well, on the crossover between the two. So I think there's definitely no stopping it. It's just only going to get better, and like I said, it doesn't matter how many times you go, it will always be different.
Have you been to the studios in Florida, Tim?
no.
I have.
That's on.
Oh yeah,
That's on the bucket list.
Yeah, you've got to do that. That
definitely.
was, I mean, you know, obviously it's home is in Watford, but the studios did a really, really good job. It was amazing to just be immersed in. You felt like you were there. It was good.
Well, and it's the little things they do, like the walking through the wall, and the train. I mean, the train trip was brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah.
Been on the
Yeah.
Jacobite in Scotland.
Say again.
Have you been on the Jacobite train in Scotland, the Harry Potter train that goes over the viaducts?
No, however, I did video it from Fort William.
Oh,
we,
no.
we were going up the Neptune staircase at Fort William,
Yeah.
and before we started going up, the train was coming through.
Yeah.
So we took some video, and that's up on my YouTube channel.
Ooh, okay, we'll have that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
should definitely come on to the Jacobite though. It was a really. How long did it take us? It felt longer than that. I'm saying an hour. I was going to say 4, but
No, not 4.
but it was a really brilliant. And then you stop off at one of the little towns at the end. And then,
But you actually go over the viaduct that they film in the film, and you see all the scenery that they have in the film.
Mm.
It's beautiful,
Well,
beautiful scenery.
well, you lovely people, we've come to the end.
Yeah.
I know. Where's that 2 hours gone?
I know.
It's just kind of flashed by. It's just gone out of it. So, I'm going to drop you lovely people down. We'll cheer you out. If you want to hang about for a few minutes after, we'll have a quick chat. But for now, Stuart, thank you so much for coming into the chat tonight, and thanks for your contribution. And we'll see you again on the channel soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Cheerio, everyone. Good night.
Well, the crew. What can I say? And Stephanie, Catherine, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And thanks for your contribution. It's made the show tonight. Thank you so much.
Don't forget to like.
Marsha, again, you're an absolute star. Love you to bits.
Oh, thank you for having me. Honestly, grateful to be here.
You are most welcome any time. We've got lots and lots of subjects that we can talk about, and I think we're singing off the same hymn sheet.
I think so too. Yeah. I know we'll talk again. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers then. Well, you good people. If you made it this far, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The message that we're pushing out is a very, very important one, and one that we're passionate about spreading. We're trying to take the taboo out of these difficult subjects and make them a very normal conversation that everybody can join in and have that normal about it. It doesn't have to be a difficult conversation. And as the weeks go on, we're going to be bringing more of these taboo subjects to the fore. We're going to talk about them normally, and that's what it's really about for us. It's all about normalising these conversations. And I can only thank everybody out there that's contributed tonight. And you guys make the show. And if you can just encourage your friends to subscribe to the channel, click the like button. Obviously, there's a whole host of videos out there. Go and check out some of the back catalogue. They're all up there. There's 200 and way over 200 videos out there for your enjoyment. And until next Thursday, again, I can't thank you enough for for joining in. So until then, TTFN, take it easy, ta-ta for now, and I'll see you all next week.